Tennessee Titans were unsuccessful with had a unfinished comeback and lost to the Steelers 27-24. And I was extremely disappointed. The Titans had this valiant, effective, unfinished comeback, which is why they lost to the Steelers 27-24. The game was not what I predicted at all. The Steelers highly proved my score prediction, my game prediction wrong, because I predicted the Titans would win a competitive, great, exciting, close game, 31-24. Derrick Henry would run for more than 111 yards, 2 Henry running touchdowns, 2 Tannehill throwing touchdowns, and the Titans make more great plays than the Steelers needed to defeat the Steelers, and the Titans win the turnover battle. Now, obviously, I was right about the Titans winning the turnover battle because the Titans' defense had 3 interceptions. The Titans' offense didn't turn the football over at all, except that didn't matter because the Steelers still won 27-24, and the Titans only benefited from one of those turnovers in 3 points. They didn't benefit from the first interception. They did not benefit from the third interception because Gostkowski missed a game-winning field goal, and the Titans weren't able to get the football into the end zone for the would have been a game-winning touchdown if the Titans defense was able to effectively defend. So the Steelers weren't able to score a game-winning touchdown. So that was extremely disappointing. Except I'm still extremely happy that the Titans, they were losing as much as 24-7. They were getting completely outplayed in the first half, which is why the Steelers, and I was obviously proven wrong because Derrick Henry, he was held to he didn't get close to 111 yards. He had a good game because he did run for more than 71 yards, except he didn't have a great game because if he runs for over 100 yards, that's a great, because the Titans that's usually what he does. It's common that Henry running for over 100 yards that's a dime a dozen. So if a team holds Derrick Henry to under 100 yards and he had more than 15 carries, then that's the other team played a great game. The Steelers defense did play a great game since they held him to under 100 yards, and that's not easy to do. And he only had 1 touchdown, not 2 touchdowns like I predicted. Tannehill was on the money. He did throw. There was 2 Tannehill throwing touchdowns, so I obviously got that right. Obviously got it right about the Titans winning the turnover battle. I got this right about being a competitive, great, close, exciting game because that's what it became in the second half after the Titans scored their second touchdown. And I was obviously I was wrong about the Titans winning 31-24 since the Steelers won 27-24. And the Titans, they scored 7 points less than what I predicted. The Steelers end up scoring 3 points more than what I predicted. So the Steelers proved me wrong as far as because they scored 3 more points than what I predicted them to score, and the Titans scored. They were 7 points short of what I predicted them to score. And so I was extremely happy that the Titans made the second half because they were getting outplayed in the first half, including the Steelers converted. They were not stopped on third down Titans were not able to get stops on third down for more than 90% for most of the third downs that the Steelers offense had. So that was a main reason why the Steelers were leading 24-7. Along with winning time of possession, etc., making it very unlikely the Titans would be able to score even more than 7 points, which they didn't. And so that was the primary reason why the Steelers were easily winning 24-7 at halftime. So even with that, I was still confident the Titans would be able to play a great second half, use great second half adjustments, and come back to win. And they use a successful comeback win to win this challenging game, and they almost did that since they narrowly lost 27-24, having an opportunity to win with a game-winning drive or send the game to overtime if Gostkowski had made that field goal. So that was just extremely disappointing, except I was still happy on the day after the Crimson Tide just demolished the Tennessee Volunteers easily in a game that was not competitive, not dramatic, it wasn't really exciting at all. And even when the Tennessee Volunteers gave me anything to be happy about, they were losing by more than 3 touchdowns. So that was very disappointing. They were not able to make the first half. The first half was became unwatchable, and the second half was also unwatchable. It just went from bad to worse. So I'm extremely happy that the Titans, the other Tennessee football team that I'm a fan of, that also starts with Tennessee, they were able to give me the watchable second half. They didn't win, except they still gave me a watchable second half. So it wasn't a completely depressing game to watch. Well, I could say that was a completely depressing game to watch for Tennessee, Alabama, because the game was never tied. Tennessee never gave me optimism that they were going to be able to come back. I mean, the only time they ever gave me optimism was 21-10, and even then it was really low optimism because I still had to see that the defense would be able to effectively stop the Crimson Tide when they didn't, because Crimson Tide moved the football, scored a touchdown, and continued to move the football and score touchdowns for most of the game. And then when the Volunteers finally did, defense stopped containing them. They already scored more than 4 touchdowns, so it was way, way too late. So I'm extremely happy that the Titans gave me a watchable second half, a exciting, great, a game that became competitive, a game that I would call great, that was great, exciting, dramatic, and became close. That's what the Titans gave me in the second half. They gave me optimism in the second half. They were able to come back and win. They didn't, which disappointed me because I was still happy they made the second half watchable. I was happy that Verts reveals character. They showed that this was a team that they could be losing by 17 points. They don't quit. They could be losing by 20 points, and they were losing by 20 points, 27-20, and they didn't quit. They were able to score that second touchdown. It's like, okay, now you got me. It's like, I was already optimistic. Just give me something, get that great big play. They got the great big play because a Steeler defender, he fell down, he wasn't able to defend. If I recall right, he fell down, and A.J. Brown catches the football, turns on the Jets. Titans score that second needed touchdown. Got me optimism. Okay, this is still early. Titans can finish this comeback. They can come back to win. Continue to play hard. They continue to play hard, and they get that amazing. They benefit from a interception. They're not able to move the football to get a touchdown, except Gostkowski still had to make that field goal. Now it gets really more interesting because now the Steelers have a narrow amount of breathing room, and the Titans aren't able to successfully score on 4 tries for first, second, third, and fourth goal, which included both passing and running. And it was really damn impressive how the Steelers were able to effectively get past the offensive line and just stonewall Derrick Henry. Except obviously that didn't hurt Derrick Henry, weighing more than 240 pounds and he's weighing more than 240 pounds. That didn't hurt him, but clearly that showed evidence that it hurt a Steeler defender, because I saw him he was being he stopped moving for some amount of time and had to be moved to the sidelines. So that was So that was pretty damn interesting, and then he did his trademark leap to get in the end. Okay, he's already seen that he's not likely to succeed. He's already seen he's not going to take that chance again by running. He's not going to take the chance by just running directly forward. He's not going to take that chance again and get gamble with getting stonewalled again. He's just going to jump high and score the touchdown, which he did, and that made me really damn exciting because he didn't just score a touchdown. He scored this really, really important third touchdown for the Titans, showing he's not going to be denied. When he goes high, he leaps, he's most likely to succeed and score a touchdown, and he did easily without any issue at all. The Derrick Henry leaping high move to score a touchdown, so that was really damn exciting, and I was extremely excited and amazed when I saw that, even though it was kind of expected because he wasn't successful with just running on the ground. Except doesn't change, I was still amazed when I saw it, and I was extremely excited. So the Titans scored that third needed touchdown, and I have high optimism the Titans are going to come back to win, and even more when the Titans, they get the stop on third down, and then after they get that stop on, they got an interception in the end zone. one freaking amazing interception because it was moved out of Juju Smith's Schuster's hands, and Hooker was able to be in the right place at the right time, is able to catch the football and falls down the end zone. So it's a touchback with the Titans benefiting. The Titans moving the football. The football is thrown into the end zone, except A.J. Brown isn't able to. If I recall it, A.J. Brown or Davis, it was A.J. Brown or Davis wasn't able to successfully catch that in the end zone, which was just highly disappointing. That then the Titans have to settle for a field goal, because I'm like, Titans have had issues stopping the Steelers, so I wouldn't have been confident that the Titans defense would be, if they had to, would be able to stop the Steelers offense if they got the football in overtime. Except I was still happy if they got it to overtime, pretty damn happy. Except that didn't happen, and it was really disappointing that Gostkowski missed that field goal, which was kind of expected because he's been 10 of 16. He's had games where he had one of those ones where he makes the one early, where he missed field goals and then makes a field goal. This was one where he made a field goal and then missed a field goal. So it wasn't the same amount as the Broncos, but it was like he was making field goals, like he was missing field goals in that Broncos game, except then extremely late when the Titans needed the most, he made a field goal. Well, when the Titans needed, he ended up making a field goal, except wasn't able to, but he missed a field goal really late when the Titans needed the most against the Steelers. Except the Titans, they gave me a watchable second half. They had an unsuccessful comeback 27-24, so I'm not completely depressed that my game prediction was proven wrong, because they still gave me an entertaining, exciting, great, made it a close game in the second half, losing narrowly 27-24. They're a team that doesn't quit. They were losing by 17 points. They didn't quit. They were losing by 20 points, as much as 20 points, and they didn't quit. They narrowly lose 27-24. So adversity reveals character. The 2020 Titans are a team that's not going to quit if they have to come back and win to defeat a great team, which they didn't, except, again, they're not going to just give up if they're losing 27-7 to a great 27-7 to a great team, which they were. They weren't able to succeed with the comeback. They did show me evidence. This is a team that isn't going to give up and quit if they're losing by as much as 20 points to a great team, which they were in the Steelers-Titans game. And the Titans end up losing to a great Steelers team, so that makes it less depressing. I want the Titans to lose sooner than later, mainly because I don't want them losing to a terrible Jaguars team, a team they should defeat. Currently a still struggling, pretty bad Texans team. Again, a team they should defeat because, again, they didn't have a successful, effective replacement after O'Brien, and they're showing right now that they're having adjustments issues with Romeo Crennel. That is, I mean, he's not a great, effective head coach. I mean, maybe he can be and it's showing on the field. And also, or the Bengals. The Bengals they're pretty much similar to the 2000. I don't want the Titans losing to a Bengals team that is, I wouldn't exactly call them terrible. They're just a team that is still learning how to they're having issues. They have to learn how to finish, and Burrow's going to have his growing pains. And they've been competitive in most of their games, so they're pretty much similar to the 2019 Cardinals, where it doesn't show what their record, except they've been competitive, except they're going to have to learn how to finish. They're going to have issues with finishing games, and the rookie quarterback, a talented rookie quarterback, which is Burrow, much like Murray, he's going to have his growing pains, and that's going to be the main flaw of why the Bengals are not winning. They're not going to have a winning record, except even with their losing record, I want to call them like a terrible team, because they've been in most of their games, except they haven't made the great plays needed to win those close games. And Burrow, like any rookie quarterback, has had his growing pains that have been dreadful or detrimental for the Bengals. that have been detrimental for the Bengals. So again, I don't want them. If the Titans lost their first game to the Bengals, that would be extremely depressing, mainly because that's a team they should defeat. Because, yeah, Burrow has had more experience, except the Bengals are they're still learning how to finish. And Burrow is still having his growing pains, which most rookie NFL QBs do have. So it was clear. Obviously, I was proven wrong, and I give huge credit to the Steelers because they won a challenging game, 27-24. They effectively contained Henry for most of the first half. They still contained him in the second half because he didn't run for more than 100 yards. Just held to one touchdown, and they were also able to stonewall him. So they were pretty highly effective for containing him in the first half, high portion of the second half, because he didn't have more than 100 yards. He was stonewalled. He was stonewalled that denied the reason why he wasn't able to score a touchdown by running on the ground. And so they were highly effective for containing Henry since he was held to one touchdown and under 100 yards, and being mostly not effective in the first half, pretty effective in the second half because he did run for a touchdown and was better in the second half. And even with the Titans winning this turnover battle 3-0, the Steelers still won the game 27-24 because they outscored the Titans 24-7 in the first half. And they also, even with the Titans outscoring them in the second half, to be exact, 17-3, that wasn't enough to defeat the Steelers because of the Steelers scored a higher amount of points in the first half that the Titans couldn't match in the second half. So even with the Titans outscoring the Steelers in the second, so that's what makes this a really great, impressive win for the Steelers, and also for the fact that the Titans only benefited from one of those three turnovers, 3 points to be exact. They didn't benefit like 14 points. They didn't benefit 6 points or 10 points. So the Steelers they didn't win the turnover, but they still played won a highly challenging game, 27-24. It's really rare in the NFL if a team turns the ball over 3 times, and that same team their defense has zero, doesn't, if they lose the turnover battle 3-0, that team and gets outscored in the second half, even if it's like by double digits to single digits to that other team, it's very challenging to win, and the Steelers were able to do that in Nashville, 27-24. So it's a highly impressive win by the Steelers, except I'm not going to be completely depressed by the Titans losing because they lost to a great team, and also because I expect them to rebound against a still learning how to finish Bengals team that has a rookie quarterback that is still having his common growing pains, and the Bengals still learning how to finish with the first year of their new head coach also. Just being expected because the 2011 the Harbaugh 49ers, that's not a dime a dozen. So, yeah, I'm still, even with the Titans end up losing 27-24, I'm still optimistic that they're going to rebound versus the Bengals, and they're also still going to get those 11 wins that I predicted. They're still going to win 11 games and win the AFC South like I predicted them to for those detailed predictions that I had before the 2020 NFL season started. I'm still highly confident that both of those happen. And it's going to be it'll be pretty damn interesting now to see how the Titans, how they play after having lost their first game. They play a Bengals team on the road. See how they play after that very disappointing loss to the Steelers, 27-24. So it'll be a very interesting game in Cincinnati on the first November Sunday, which is also the first day of November.